Welcome back coders, my name is Aditya and let's continue with the series on Python. Till now we have installed Python and in the last video we have seen some operations on integers as well as on strings. So now in this video we will see that what are variables and what are the operations that we can perform on variables. In the last video we have seen that we can add numbers, subtract numbers, multiply and divide numbers. We can also get the remainder of a number using the modulus operator and we can find powers of a number using the double multiplication symbol. We have seen that when we enter a number or a string, the interpreter will give us that back. And if we enter an equation, it will give us the result of that equation. So now let's get started. We were talking about variables. Wait, what is a variable? Well, you can imagine a variable as a container that contains some value. This value could be a string or an integer. The variable has two things. First, the value it contains, and second, the name of the variable, or you can say the name of the container. So let's see that how can we use variables. As we have talked that a variable has a name and a value. Let's say that I want the variable name to be x and now I should assign a value to this variable. So for that we will have to use a symbol equal to here and now I can put a value here. So let's say 5. So I am assigning the value 5 to the variable x. So when I will press enter, it returns me nothing. But before it was returning me some results. It is because before we were asking the interpreter to return us something when we were passing 1 plus 1 or 6 into 5. But now we are saying to the interpreter that hey interpreter, I want to create a container which will have a name x and a value 5, and the interpreter says, okay, I have created the container. What should I return you now? There's nothing to return, and that's why it returns us nothing. Now, as I have created a variable, I should be able to access it. So, how can I get the value of a variable? So, to get the value of x, I will say x, and what this x will do, it will ask the interpreter to return me the value of x. So when I will press enter, it says 5, which is the value of x. Now, can we fetch the value of a variable which is not defined or which we have not assigned yet? So let's try. Let's say xyz, and we know that xyz has not been created yet. And when I will press enter, it will give us an error and it says xyz is not defined, which is true. Now, what does a variable means in mathematics? It means that we can change its value. So, can we do that here? Yes, of course. So, for that, I will say x equals 7. And yes, this is same as creating a new variable. And when I will press enter, it returns us nothing. And now, when I will say x and press enter, it will return us 7 and it will not return us 5 anymore because the value of x has been changed from 5 to 7. Now let's change the value of x to default. Let's say x equals 5 and press enter, and now when I will ask the value of x and press enter, now it says it's 5. So in this way we can change the value of variables. So now let's try to add a number to a variable. Let's say x plus 5. We know that the value of x is 5 and we are adding 5 to x, and now this should return us 10, and when I will press enter it says 10, means we can add a number to a variable. Now can we add a variable to a variable? And for that we will have to create a new variable. Let's say y equals 7, and now when I will say x plus y and press enter, this will return me 12, which is 5 plus 7, which are the respective values of a, x and y. Till now we have just added two variables. Can we do other operations? Let's try. Let's say y minus x, and when I will press enter it says 2, which is 7 minus 5, and it's right. Let's try for multiplication. Let's say x multiplied by y, and this gives us 35, which is 7 into 5. And let's try division. Let's say y divided by x, and it gives us 1.4, which would be of course the right answer. means we can do all such operations in variables also. Let's say x raised to the power y, and this is 35. I've said x into 5. Let me say x raised to the power y, and this gives us 78125, which would of course be the right answer. So till now we have worked with variables and numbers only. So can we also assign a string to a variable? Let's try. Let's say name equals YouTube, and you need to be careful that you enclose the string into single quotes or double quotes. And let's press enter, and there is no error, means we can assign a variable with a string. So let's try to fetch the value. Let's say name, and when I will press enter, it says YouTube, which is the right answer. Not the right answer, it is exactly the value what we have given to name. Now in the previous video we have seen that we can add two strings using the plus operator. So can we add a variable and a string? Let's try. Let's say name equals not equals name plus video, and when I will press enter, it says YouTube video, which is right. Now can we add two variables only which are string values? For that we will have to create a new variable. So let's say name2, and yes, you can have numbers in variable names, but your variable name should not start with numbers. It can have numbers, but it should not start with numbers. So let's say name2 equals video, and when I will say name plus name2, and when I will press enter, it says YouTube video, which is right, means we can also add two variable strings. Now can we use multiplication with strings? Let's say for that we will say name into, let's print it x times. If you remember, the value of x is 5. So let's say name into x, and when I will press enter, this gives us YouTube x times, which is 5 times, means it is working. So if you enjoyed learning in this video, then go and like the video, and don't forget to subscribe the channel and to share this series with your friends so that they can also learn programming for free.